To be labeled an IFBB pro is definitely something that I want more than anything. And I definitely want it for different reasons than most. The reason that I really do this is for myself. I do this to prove to myself that every day I can wake up and dedicate myself to something that I love. When I step on stage, obviously it would be great to win, but all I want is to know that I gave it everything that I possibly could. And if I am the best on that stage, then I did deserve it. Bodybuilding is a very selfish sport. It is a very difficult sport. It's not for everybody. And a lot of people might say, why do you do it? What's the point? You're prepping for 5 to, plus months, 4 to 6 months of something just to step on stage for 30 seconds. And a lot of people would say, that's crazy. Your whole life is revolved around it. You wake up, you eat, sleep, you train, you breathe this one sport, and you're on stage for that 30 seconds. But that 30 seconds is the most magical 30 seconds of the entire prep. And once you actually step foot on stage, you notice and you start to see, wow, I did it. All that blood, sweat, and tears, all those hours of cardio, those times where I thought I couldn't do it anymore. Maybe this isn't the sport for me. I want to cheat on my diet. I can't go any longer. Once you step on stage, everything just melts away and you are right where you're supposed to be. I have a lot to prove for this prep, not to anybody else but myself. This last prep was about 1.5 years in the making.
Now to growing concerns about the deadly coronavirus officially hitting the U.S. Here's what we know.
For Americans who are watching this, how serious is this? What's keeping you up at night?
Speed now on the coronavirus headlines this morning. Across the country, we're now up to more than 368,000 confirmed cases.
What do we know about this virus itself? Obviously, we've heard of deaths. I think it stands at 200 now.
Here in Houston, authorities reported 400 new cases, but that spike doesn't tell the whole story. Much more on the race to respond to the coronavirus, from possible treatments to vaccine.
So my show got canceled 3 weeks out because of COVID. And after that, I went into a bad eating pattern and gained a whole bunch of weight back. And it took me a long time to get back to starting prep again and having the confidence to start prep for a new show. My family was going through a lot through COVID. My friends were. It was a difficult time for everybody. And it was really hard to get back into a routine and really find the motivation to do it again. And then once I did, after that, it was easier. And I found the love for it again, and the passion came back, but it did take a long time. Being 3 weeks out from a show and then having it cancel was really tough. I played it off very cool when I got the text message from Zach, and he's like, babe, I'm sorry, but it's canceled. And at 3 weeks, you are angry, you are tired, you are almost fed up, and that's the point where it's really worth it. It's about to become real. And after that, I went into a binge eating spiral, and I remember coming home and my parents were like, Julia, I'm so sorry that your show is canceled, and I couldn't even be present with them because the only focus that I had was food. I remember I probably ate about 1,500 to 2,000 calories in one sitting, just because I was so upset and stressed and anxious. And when I have emotions, that's how I deal with them. I eat. And my mom even said to me, Julia, you need to stop eating. I know your show got canceled, but you're gonna get sick. And when you struggle with disordered eating and you don't know, it's difficult when people say that to you and actually notice it as well. And at that point, that's when I knew, I was like, this is a problem. I was the only girl on an all-boys wrestling team, so you can imagine how that must have felt for me. You were either praised or you were ridiculed. I got treated very differently and never really got treated as an equal. So from as young as I can remember, I've always been in a male-dominant sport, and trying to be a female doing something that is honestly very out there has always been challenging. So if anyone knows anything about wrestling, it's actually kind of similar to bodybuilding, which is kind of why bodybuilding was so intriguing to me. You have to cut down to a certain weight class, you have to go through strict training, strict dieting, and I did that all through high school, and that's a really challenging thing to do for a high schooler, especially knowing nothing about nutrition and only the things that my coach would tell me about training. So initially, after wrestling, I stopped working out completely. I was fed up with the dieting, the comments that people would make, and I stopped. I gave up. I gave up on myself. I went to a pretty dark place, and I call her the old Julia. So I struggled a lot with binge eating my last prep. This all started from back when I was a 15-year-old in wrestling. I have been restrictively dieting since I was 15. So this pattern has built up over years, and it only came to light during COVID. So weirdly, in like the darkest times, you find the most value and you learn the most things. And I struggled a lot with binge eating this past prep. Luckily, I still won, but I know that I could have showed up better for myself, and I don't want to do that this time. And I feel like this time around, I am better equipped mentally, emotionally, physically to go through this prep and not struggle as much as I did last time. When I step on stage, obviously it would be great to win, but all I want is to know that I gave it everything that I possibly could. I hope y'all are ready for this Road to Pro series, because I am hungry and I am ready for it.